Hello friends, Esther Powers here. I am coming to you today to talk about something, and we'll see where it goes. I want to talk today about the lottery mentality, about how all of us have something or another that we would love to change in an instant. We'd love to improve. Whether it's money, which is a common one, of course, love, which is another common one. We want our perfect mate to just show up. We want our perfect solution to just show up. The perfect job. We want our finances solved this quickly. We want our bodies to shift right away. All these things. And there's something that I'm learning about the human mind as I'm growing and learning how to help others better, and as I've been growing into my own work. And one thing is that as I've grown in my work, especially with the Psych K work, I've noticed that some people, when I work with them, have real obvious shifts that happen. And they can happen really quickly. And it wasn't that way for me, or at least that's not the way I recall it. That's not the way I remember it. For me, what I remember is gradual, incremental shifts. Things that I would barely notice sometimes. And even to the point where I wouldn't notice until someone else gave me feedback that something had changed in the way I was approaching things or the way that I was coming across. And I'm bringing this up because specifically I have an example right now. I posted on Facebook just a couple of days ago about a woman that I helped a bit during the day there that is homeless and is really struggling. And I didn't feel like I had done much, but when I look back on it in contrast to what she was experiencing on a day-to-day basis, it was enough to cause her mental capacity to be kind of overloaded. The subconscious belief systems that would cause someone to be in that situation in the first place, that would create that, they weren't all ready to shift that quickly, and obviously so. So my anticipation or expectation that I put in place was that she would be grateful for the additional legs up, right? And she is, or at least believes she is. However, she's also created in the last couple of days circumstances, situations where, I've set it up to go pick her up and get her to a safe shelter and things like that. And instead, she's creating her own solutions for herself, which involves still being on the streets, just with a different group. And so as someone who cares about her, about people, it's something that I'm taking a look at. I'm being honest as much as I can with myself about it. And I've experienced this before with other people that I've helped, specifically in these kinds of extreme cases where I'm working with someone who's in that destitute of a situation. However, I see it anyway. I see it in myself when I would love to manifest that elite body, for example, and I'll get close. I'll reach a certain point in my fitness or in my weight loss or the way clothes fit me or a certain size, and I'll find an emotional trigger will come up or something, and I'll just lose that track, right? I'll have been steady for weeks and without any real evidence other than, when I look back on it, the only real point that I can see is that I would reach a certain level of my goal, right? I'd get close to my goal somehow, and somehow my subconscious isn't ready for that, or wasn't ready for that, to be able to accept that level of health, or that level of attractiveness, that level of attention, perhaps, whatever it is that would bring that on. So just one example from my life, something that I know that happens with me. I see it with those who I know who struggle with alcoholism, and how they can go for a good period of time and work with their recovery in resolving their own character defects or working through their mental struggles, and they'll make progress as a person, and it's real progress. And it's like they'll hit a point and something will come up, and they'll create an environment where they're triggered to go back to that. And I know that I may be tying conclusions that I'm not qualified to make. So please note that I am not a, doctor. I have not yet been to school for psychology. My understanding is all experiential and book reading of my own and classes and things like that. I'm just sharing with you an observation because I'd like you to take a look at your own life and realize that a lot of times I think we're putting out into the universe that we want this big change and we want it now. And I believe at this, I just, realize that in getting it now, we're also asking to make a lot of changes internally as well. And this is evidenced by the numbers. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but there's some dramatic amount of percentage of people who, when they achieve great success in a quick hurry, whether it's through the music industry or through a lottery or whatever it is, that they tend to have that money gone and then some in a quick hurry, and be in a worse situation than they started. And that's because of this principle that I'm talking about, that happens. And I would just like to open the door today, this evening, in this message for each of us to take a look at ourselves, take a look at progress, take a look at what it is we want to create, and start being okay with those incremental shifts. And start watching for those points where it's a tipping point. I've gone through this weight thing enough that I know right where that mark is, where I tend to struggle. And where I've been starting to make some progress is I'm only asking myself to get 2 or 3 pounds beyond that, or one size beyond that, instead of reaching for that big star. I'm allowing myself to be okay and even congratulate myself for those incremental steps. Because when we expand the mind too much too fast, we're just not designed to grow into it that quickly. We have a magical design, and I'm sure this is a safety mechanism for us. So be okay with those incremental steps, and be okay with others as they go through their growth. And be careful about judging this process, because it's a very natural process. And when we do that flex and contraction and flex and contraction, we do grow. That balloon, once it's been blown up and then deflated, it's still a different shape. And it has been flexed. So that's it, really, this evening. Thank you for being here and listening. It's been kind of an emotional week for me, really discovering this process at a new level for myself and with the people around me, and learning how to temper my giving so that it can be more in relation to so that the person I'm giving to is able to absorb it without necessarily having to push me away for a period of time so that they can grow into it. It's a beautiful lesson. I'm grateful for the lesson, and I'm grateful for all of you, and I hope this brings value to someone today. Thank you. Bye-bye.